NASA's New Horizons probe performed the first ever flyby of Pluto in July of 2015. Planetary scientist William McKinnon with Washington University is one of the leading scientists involved in the mission. After studying the data, McKinnon published remarkable findings that Pluto's surface is surprisingly young and geologically active. A large section of Pluto's icy surface is renewed by a process called convection that replaces older ices with fresher material. Pluto has become famous over the last year, featured in a stack of Pluto trading cards.
Alan Stern has taken a picture with the rocket shortly before we launched.
NASA's New Horizons spacecraft blasted off on a journey into the history books. Almost 10 years and more than 3 billion miles later, the space probe reached Pluto. And when it did, Dr. Bill McKinnon got a touch of fame, too.
Card number 34. That's me. Says my hometown is New Orleans. My hobby is space music. And on the bottom there, it says, fun fact, the license plate of my car for 24, now 25 years, has been Triton, Pluto's long-lost cousin, now a moon of Neptune.
Washington University is home base for his research, and he is forever part of the Pluto team. The collection of scientists is featured in the collectible cards.
Percival Lowell, who founded the Lowell Observatory with his own personal fortune, to search for what he thought would be the next planet. He died before Clyde Tombaugh found it, but it set the thing in motion. So all of this was set in motion.
One day leading to McKinnon's early involvement in the push for Pluto.
Pluto is mysterious and far away, and we knew hardly anything about it. And once I decided to work on it, it was kind of like, it was a lonely endeavor where there were only a few enthusiasts.
Enthusiasm eventually picked up, positioning McKinnon for what would become the adventure of a lifetime. He is part of the world's first mission to Pluto and the Kuiper Belt, at the edge of our solar system.
Visit the planet Pluto and then beyond.
I'm on the science team, so we're part of the original group of people saying, these are the goals. This is why we want to do this. This is why the federal government, supported by U.S. taxpayers, should do this so that we can gain this new knowledge and spread it all around the world. And so I'm kind of interested in everything about Pluto, its geology, its geophysics, what goes on inside, is there an ocean, is there a magnetic field? How was Pluto formed, and what is it trying to tell us about the outer solar system? And it does have a story to tell.
The plot of this dwarf planet's story is still unraveling as the events are gathered and processed through one of this story's main characters, New Horizons.
It's kind of shaped, well, actually it's shaped like this. This is some beaters in South Africa made this spacecraft. So it's sort of like a triangle here, and there's the radio antenna to send the data back to the Earth, and these little things are the cameras and other instruments that would reorient the spacecraft as we go by Pluto to take data. And this is the power supply, it's a radioactive power supply.
With its arrival in July of 2015, that's when, as they say, the plot thickens.
It was really interesting. It was, well, that's hardly doesn't do it justice. It was more than interesting. It was brain-boggling, right? It was beyond anybody's expectations. I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be insanely great. I wouldn't have gone around telling people that because I could have easily looked like a fool at the end of the day.
But it would have been a good gamble, never looking like a fool at all. Not with what they found.
Pluto just turned out to be its own beast and doing its own thing, and it has, glaciers and hazes. The landscape is churning.
Analysis of that churning landscape is what landed McKinnon's study on the cover of the prestigious journal Nature. It's called Changing Face of Pluto for its vigorous geological activity. First, he explains how Pluto has a nitrogen ice surface.
The materials there are exotic for us. It's cold at the surface of Pluto, right? So it's much closer to absolute zero than it is 0 centigrade. Parts of the solid surface of Pluto are made of things like solid nitrogen, if you can imagine that. You go to the Science Center here in St. Louis, you see people play with liquid nitrogen all the time, but solid nitrogen, you really have to be cold. but it's soft material, and it's a geological material on Pluto. So it reminds us of Mars. It reminds us of the Earth, except everything is exotic. The mountains are not made of rock, they're made of water ice. The glaciers are not made of water ice like on the Earth or on Mars. They're made of solid nitrogen, but they're flowing downhill and carrying bits of the landscape with them.
And he discovered a large section of Pluto's solid nitrogen surface is renewed by a process called convection.
It's just basically heat from below is carried by solid matter. On the Earth and in other planets, inside it's hot, and so the mantle is convecting, and that's why we have plate tectonics. The surface of the Earth is moving. On Pluto, there's this giant basin, and it's filled with miles of solid nitrogen and solid methane and solid carbon monoxide. And there's enough heat leaking out of Pluto because it's actually 2/3 rock in composition totally. And there's radioactive elements in it that decay and they generate heat. And this heat has to get out. And basically they slowly rising blobs of solid nitrogen, they rise up to the surface, and they spread, and then they descend. And it's all moving at a few centimeters a year, a couple of inches a year, we think, from the models.
Pluto's story has more plot twists as other discoveries are made, leading to more theories. Data from the Pluto flyby in 2015 is still coming in, continuing until November 2016. So for McKinnon, the book on Pluto is far from being closed. It's only been opened, with many chapters still to come.
We're just forming an internal committee to talk about what to do next. Now, I don't anticipate I will be involved in any given my age, but younger people. So the question is, what do you follow this with? Do you want to build a kind of clone of the New Horizons machine and send it to other dwarf planets? Or do you want to build something that might actually go to Pluto and stay there, go into orbit so you could really study things?
Plans for future Pluto exploration are as endless as the universe.
This will go on. This will go on for several years, and a broader community will keep looking at it and trying to tie it into the overall picture of the solar system.